This episode is brought to you by CarterComics.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your comic needs, whether it be graded or raw. Carter Comics has got it all. All you gotta do is go to CarterComics.com, fill your card up with all their amazing comics. Use the discount code FREAKNET, FREAKNET. Save you 10% at checkout. Not only on their website, but also at their eBay account. And the link to eBay can be found on their homepage at CarterComics.com. Again, CarterComics.com is your one-stop shop for all comic needs. Greetings, listeners, and welcome to the first episode of 2024's This Freaky Show. I am your host, Travesty, and with me this evening,
The Freak Joe.
that's right, everybody. Freaky Show is back here in Freaknet Studio Land. The Freak Joe is back here with us, and I promise I will not be doing this voice the entire time. It's just really nice to kind of kick it off once in a while doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know there's going to be a day where I may do the entire episode in that voice, but every time I do it, I just sound like some weirdo, trying to offer candy not on October 31st.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Freak Joe, thank you for returning here to This Freaky Show. Of course, all you know that Freak Joe here, that means we're gonna have Freaky Tales back for the entire month of October. I'm really excited because this is my favorite time of year, not only podcasting wise, but also seasonal. I love fall, huge fall fan, and I love Halloween, huge Halloween fan and stuff. So, we do have an idea of what all our episodes are going to be like over the course of this month, and we're going to kick off this freaky show talking about the topic that we talk about every year, and that is the horror movies that are coming out in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we used to talk about a movie, give it a rating, and kind of predict what the movie is going to be like, but we never really truly look at the results to find out where these movies fall. So instead, I think what we would do is we would kind of play off of a game that we created many years ago called My Corona, but because it's Halloween themed, we're going to make it Halloween themed. So, well, I guess more freaky show themed. So, Joe, I'm going to give you a name of a movie. I do have a list of some of the more popular movies that are coming out. The thing is, a lot of them don't have plot lines released as of yet. Obviously, these are next year movies,
Gotcha.
but they're sequels and stuff. So, what I'll do is I'm gonna give you a name of a movie. I'll give you the release date if it's available. If it doesn't have a plot line, we'll kind of talk about the movies that we know about them, and if there is, I can obviously read you the plot line I have, and then you're gonna decide if you want to freaky go or freaky no.
All right.
Right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about haunted or horror movies. I don't know why I keep saying haunted movies. Well, there's hauntings in these movies. So we're gonna talk about horror movies. It'll be like, just a combination of like ghost and slasher and stuff like that. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you comment below what movie you're looking forward to in 2025 and share with us what that is. And we'd love to kind of chat with you on why you think that'd be the best movie to go see in 2025 that is horror-based. So, Freak Joe, if you're ready, we can dive into this list and start going through these, and we can find out if Freaky Joe will go or it's a no for Freak Joe.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to kick off the list. The first one on this list is The Conjuring: Last Rites. So we know what the Conjuring saga is. There is no plot line given for this movie as of yet, but we know that the Conjuring has been a big franchise in the horror industry for many, many years now. So this movie is set to come out on September 5th of 2025, so nearly a year from the month we're in, or I guess last month, I guess. It's defined as an American supernatural horror film. A lot of these are going to be like that. And this is actually the final installment of the main series because I guess they had spin-offs, like The Nun, I think was part of it. I think maybe Abigail might have been. But this is almost like an MCU kind of situation where The Conjuring is the Avengers saga, and then all the branches off and everything are the other movies that came from this franchise. So this one is the final Conjuring movie of the main plotline. Joe, you know me. I don't like horror movies. I don't watch horror movies if I can avoid it. Speaking of which, keep that in mind, guys, as I tell you what I'm freaky thinking about here at the end of this episode. Have you seen any of the Conjuring movies? And if you have any input on how you feel about them, and is there a favorite one or anything like that?
No, I haven't seen any of them. I'm not opposed. I feel like I would really like Annabelle.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of the stunts for the Nun, and it does intrigue me. But yeah, I've never seen any of the Conjurings.
See, that surprised me because I assumed you would have been like, yeah, I've actually seen every single Conjuring movie.
Yeah, you'd think. I would think. I'm surprised I haven't.
Yeah, see, I don't even know what The Conjuring is about. Let's see here. The Conjuring is a 2013 American supernatural horror film. They're purportedly real-life reports inspired the Amityville Horror Story film franchise. Plot: 1968, renowned demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated the Annabelle case, in which friends Debbie and Camilla have a possessed doll. They allowed the spirit who claimed to be a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins to possess the doll, but the hauntings became more disturbing. The Warrens explained that the doll was never possessed. It was only a conduit for a demonic spirit whose goal was to possess one of the friends. Okay, well...
That is much creepier than...
That is probably why I've never seen it.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, I'm going to assume that you are kind of the guy who likes to watch movies in series from beginning to end. But I'm going to ask, freaky go or freaky no?
It is a freaky no with an asterisk of... if I catch up on all the other ones, I would go.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like I'm kind of curious about, because like I said, that there's not a lot of information on some of these because they haven't really released anything. But without seeing any of the Conjurings, I don't know. And maybe for those who can answer this, comment below either on wherever you're listening or if you're watching on YouTube again at the Freakin Studios YouTube channel. Is it necessary to watch the previous movie to understand what's going on in this one, or is it like, yeah, they're all Conjuring movies, but they're different stories and plot lines and stuff like that. Like in retrospect, to kind of use a non-Halloween themed movie, you don't need to really watch Home Alone 1 to understand Home Alone 2 altogether.
Right.
The very beginning where he's like, where the mom screams, we did it again, stuff. But obviously, it follows the story, but you don't really need to see it. You don't really need to see the first Avengers to see Age of Ultron, stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like I don't need to see The Nun or Annabelle to see The Conjuring 3.
Exactly.
Oh, last rites, huh?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing too. So I mean, but I know like to me, you kind of seem like a movie. I don't want to say purist, but I kind of wanted to, but. I think you need to watch in the sagas. You're not going to just crank on a Goblet of Fire without maybe watching Sorcerer's Stone, Azkaban, and all that other stuff. So.
Yeah, I feel like I would watch. Well, it depends, right? I'd watch the first Conjuring. Mm-hmm. If I really liked it, then I would probably go ahead and watch Annabelle. If I really liked that, then I would just continue in the order they're released. If I didn't really like it, or if I liked it enough but not enough to watch Annabelle, I'd probably just move on to The Conjuring 2, and then The Devil Made Me Do It, and then the new one, Last Rites.
Gotcha. Yeah, please do that. Let me know how it goes.
All right, we'll do.
Watch them all at 3 a.m. because that's the witching hour.
Yeah, I noticed in the first movie all the clocks stop at 3:07.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So, asterisk, freaky now. Okay. The next movie is called The Monkey. It's scheduled to release on February 21st, 2025. American supernatural horror film based on the Stephen King short story from 1980. There is a quick plot line to here. After stumbling upon their father's vintage toy monkey in the attic, twin brothers Hal and Bill witness a string of horrifying deaths unfolding around them. To leave the haunting behind, the brothers opt to discard the monkey and pursue separate paths over time. However, when the inexplicable death resurface, the brothers are compelled to reconcile and embark on a mission to permanently eliminate the cursed toy. Joe, you're a reader. Have you read the Stephen King short story, The Monkey?
No, I haven't, which surprises me. But I haven't read any of his short stories.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, we kind of talked about what it is. Obviously, it's once again just kind of like The Conjuring, a possessed toy. So freaky go or freaky no? Joe?
This is a freaky go for me. I like the cast. I like it. It's got. I mean, I only recognize Elijah Wood, but I'm in. That's not. I love everything Elijah Wood is in. So
awesome. These are all gonna be freaky no's for me, by the way, because they're horror movies. So I may just let everyone know. But the next one will be Megan 2.0, and Megan is spelled M, the number 3, GAN 2.0. Scheduled to release June 27th of 2025. American science fiction horror film. It is a sequel to the original Megan movie. No current plot given for it. Let me see here if I could look up what the original Megan movie was about, which came out in 2023. I like how it has to put Megan pronounced Megan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's got the stupid.
After her parents are killed in a car accident, 8-year-old Katie, C-A-D-Y, is sent to live with her aunt Gemma, a robotics at a high-tech Seattle toy company, Funky. Gemma is covertly using the company's resources to develop Megan, Model 3 generative android, a child-sized humanoid robot doll powered by artificial intelligence designed to be the ultimate companion for children. During an unsuccessful test of Megan in their lab, Gemma's boss David discovers the project and orders her to discontinue work on it. Gemma and Katie struggle to connect until Katie comes across Bruce, a motion capture robot that Gemma has created at college. Watching Katie with Bruce, Gemma is motivated to complete Megan. Really, it could also be a Disney movie based on that. So clearly it's not, because it is a science horror movie.
Yep.
Also kind of weird, though, because it doesn't seem like the kind of movie that you would need to have a sequel for. Like, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know how the first one ended. I'm assuming you didn't see this movie.
No, I really wanted to. I actually was really looking forward to it, and then I can't remember what happened, but I just didn't make it to the theater before it was out. And I just never followed up.
Gotcha. I mean, and this is kind of in your wheelhouse, horror and science all in one.
Yeah, and I loved I love movies like it. I really enjoy the original Chucky movies. I really enjoy Ex Machina was a really good movie that came out recently that feels very similar to this. I just never got around to seeing it. So this is another one. It's a no with an asterisk, only because I need to see the first one before I decide if I'm going to see the second.
Yeah, I mean, unlike The Conjuring, this definitely seems like you need to see the first one, because it's going to be a continuation of what previously happened. But that's what's wild. Like, so I'm guessing this is maybe like Child's Play kind of sequel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's they thought the doll was gone and it comes back.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Next one is Insidious 6. Scheduled to release on August 29th, 2025, a supernatural horror film. It's the newest installment of the Insidious franchise. I have no current plot given, but let's see if we can pull up the original plot of the original Insidious, even though there's been 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
2011. I can't believe the first one came out that long ago. Oh, God, I do remember these. Married couple Josh and Renee Lambert have recently moved into a new home with their sons, Dalton and Foster, and their infant daughter, Callie. One evening, Dalton sneaks into the attic where he encounters a mysterious entity after falling from a rickety ladder and hitting his head. The next day, he inexplicably slips into a coma.
Gotcha.
See, again, reading that doesn't sound like a horror movie. Looking at the cover, yeah, that's a horror movie.
Very obviously.
And
this one
it looks like it's from the creators of Saw. So,
gotcha. This one's a freaky no for me. I have never had any interest in any of the Insidious movies, and I'm just going to continue. I don't know. Just nothing about it ever pulled me in or intrigued me. So I remember like watching the commercials for it and being like, no, thank you. And since life is finite, and I now have to watch 9 Conjuring movies and 2 Megan movies.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I mean, these are going to be no's for me just because I'm not a huge fan of horror movies. I do not like them and everything. But this one is weird just because it's like just reading how to describe it. It's like, okay, so the kid's in a coma, but like what else? Because that could also be like a Hallmark feel-good movie.
Right.
You know? So, but okay, cool, yeah. Next one is going to be Saw 11. I don't know why they still have these.
You don't even have to read it. I mean, you can if you want to for the format, but.
Oh, no, I'm going to. No, I'm committed now. September 26, 2025 is the release date. Horror film, American horror film, newest installment of the Saw franchise. There has not been an official plot given, but Adam, a photographer, awakens in a dilapidated bathtub with his ankle chained to a pipe. Across the room, an oncologist, Dr. Lawrence Gordon, and between them is the corpse of an apparent suicide victim holding a revolver and a microcassette recorder. Both men find a tape in their pockets, and Adam retrieves the recorder. Adam's tape urges him to survive, while Gordon's tape urges him to kill Adam by 6, or his wife Allison and daughter Diana will be killed. After listening to a tape, the duo uncovers a clue leading Adam to finding a bag containing 2 hacksaws inside the toilet. Both men try to saw through their chains, but Adam's saw breaks. Gordon realizes the saws are intended for their feet and identifies their captor as the Jigsaw Killer, a serial killer who tests his victims to survive through murderous contraptions known as games, whom Gordon knows about because he was once a suspect. So, yes, Saw, I've actually seen a lot of them. I know I've seen the first one. I've probably seen, I think I own Saw 5 for some godforsaken reason. I don't know why. But I've seen all of them up until Saw 3D. You can thank my ex-girlfriend for that. So, I haven't seen 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look at that. There's only 4 of them I haven't seen. So, wow. Yeah, which is one that has yet to come out. So, Saw is pretty much self-explanatory. It actually says in the description, it's a murderer who creates a bunch of unique games in order to get people to survive or see what they're trying to push their limits to. So, Joe, you ever seen any of the Saws?
Nope.
Dude, I recommend it. They're actually not that bad.
Are they?
So,
okay.
So here's the thing. For me, I wouldn't consider this a horror film because
it's a bit more thriller.
Yeah, because like, in a weird way, they're not. I mean, I guess they're technically murders, but they're actually more like if you're willing to mutilate yourself to survive.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not supernatural. It's just
it's not that, and that's the wild thing, dude. Because it's not like Krueger, Voorhees, Myers, where it's like jump scares, jumping out, stabbing you and shit like that. You're literally watching people go through horrendous torture to survive. So I think that's why I was able to get through these. I still don't understand why my girlfriend fucking liked them. My ex said that she's probably an extra reason because she probably liked these fucking movies.
She was trying to get you in this.
Right? She's like, yeah. It's just her whispering to me while sleeping one day, like, I want to play a game. Like, oh shit. Yeah, but like I could get through these because it's the jump scare shit that messes with me. It's like I don't like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These I got through, though, and am I going to go watch Saw 11? Probably not. But at the same time, I probably would go back and watch the original Saw because to me, they didn't need 10 more of them. It's cool. If they just ended it there, I'd be okay. But
yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, I get it. I think it's fun. The pop culture around it has been great. But it's another series I just never really had any interest in. I am more interested in the supernatural horror movies than in the natural horror movies. If you can cut them up that way.
No, I get what you're saying. 100%.
Yeah. So if it was on, I'd watch it, but I'm not going to go seek it out. So it's a freaky no for me. And I'm the same way. Like I didn't really feel like they needed the first one, but by all means, make a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time we're at 11, it's a bit like Freddy and Jason. I'm just kind of like, why are we still doing this?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's almost like a cash grab at that point.
Yeah, we're getting to like Leprechaun in Manhattan or whatever.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. Okay. The next one is called The Black Phone. It's scheduled to release October 17th of 2025. American supernatural horror film. It's a sequel to The Black Phone in 2021. Never heard of these. Let me see here. The Black Phone. I don't have a plot for the sequel, but the original one here, let's see what we got. In 1978, a local serial child abductor and murderer only known as the Grabber prowls the streets of a suburb in North Denver, Colorado. Finney Blake and young sister Gwen live in the area with their abusive alcoholic father Terrence, whose wife died by suicide after having a series of disturbing psychic dreams. Finney is frequently bullied and harassed at school, but his friend and classmate Robin fends off the bullies. Well, based on that, I don't know what it has to do with a black phone, but whatever. Joe, freaking go, freaking no.
This is a freaking no, not because I'm uninterested. As again, I haven't seen the first one, and I can't remember if the first one intrigued me enough. 2021, I just feel like I didn't keep any track of any movies that happened that year. So I do like Ethan Hawke though. He's a good actor. Enjoy him. So if he's in the new one, it's a maybe, but it's probably a no.
Gotcha. Okay.
These are like all sequels. This is wild.
Right. Well,
have an original idea, movie makers.
There is one, two of them. Two of them are originals. So
nice.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2, scheduled to be released actually this December. Originally it was for 2025, but it's actually coming out this December. American supernatural horror film. No plot given for the sequel, but if you want to know about the original, if you don't already, at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a once successful abandoned pizzeria, a scared night security guard attempts to flee from the building, but is captured and strapped to a torture device, which kills him.
Oh.
So I know this is based on a video game.
Yep.
And I know Matthew Lillard was in it. The original, I'm not sure about the sequels and stuff like that, but
yeah,
it's unique. So
this one's a maybe. I really wanted to see the first one because I always try to see movies that are based on video games because eventually there will be a good one.
So you're not saying go, you're not saying no, but you're saying maybe so.
I'm saying maybe so.
Clutch. Okay. I
like that. That was a good
way to change the rules. The Bride, scheduled to release September 26, 2025, is an American science fiction monster film. The inspiration from James Whale's 1935 film Bride of Frankenstein. In 1930 Chicago, Frankenstein asked Dr. Euphronis to help create a companion. They give life to a murdered woman as a bride, sparking romance, police interest, and radical social change. So maybe this one isn't an original. It's more probably just Bride of Frankenstein remake, but technically it is an original. So
I'm calling Freaky Go. I'm in. This sounds great. I love the Frankenstein story. And
yes. I was sold on Frankenstein. This one I may actually see because, I mean, again, who knows what, because I'm sure this ain't going to be like based on like I'm sure it's not going to be like a 1930s movie. It's going to be 2025's version of a 1930s movie, so it'll probably be a little gruesome and stuff like that, but unique.
Yeah.
The Woman in the Yard, scheduled to release March 28th, 2025, horror film. This is an original, and there is no plot given, so I
don't know anything about it.
Yeah, we kind of skipped that one.
You know what? I'm gonna go. Even if I don't actually make it out, as of right now, today, I'm gonna say it's an original. I'm going to try to see it. I'm gonna call it Freakin' Go.
Perfect. There we go. Yeah. So whoever's creating The Woman in the Yard, put a plot line out, or contact us. You can talk about the plot on the show. Last one, and this one's more of an honorable mention one because it's an independent film. Bambi: The Reckoning. Scheduled to release in 2025. It's a British independent horror film. Horror retelling of Felix Salten's Bambi: A Life in the Woods. After a mother and son get in a car wreck, they soon become hunted by Bambi, a mutated, grief-stricken deer on a deadly rampage, seeking revenge for the death of his mother.
I love it. Freaky Go.
I thought so.
I love these awful movies.
It's unique that because it's like the idea of like Brothers Grimm, you know, like all these Disney movies were portrayals of actual gruesome fucking stories, you know, played off by, you know, so. But now we're kind of like going back in reverse. So, you know, they're making an independent film with a murderous Bambi, which long overdue, I would say.
Yep. So it's kind of like last year's Winnie the Pooh horror movie.
Exactly. Actually, I think when I was looking up this information, I think that did pop up, was like Pooh Bear in the Woods kind of stuff. Yeah. Yep. There's a new one of those coming out next year too. It's called Poohniverse Monsters Assemble. That does not surprise me one bit.
Yep.
Yeah, guys. So if there's a movie out there, you know, next year that you're looking excited to see horror wise, if it's listed on what we talked about, share it with us. Or if there's one that we didn't talk about, you're kind of looking forward to. Comment below on YouTube at the Freakin' Studios YouTube channel if you're watching our show, or wherever you're listening to it, anywhere else on Spotify or whatever. You can comment below and share with us your opinions. My favorite part of the Freaky Show now is listening to the Freak Show share with us a short story, a haunting short story. So it's a unique process because this time around we actually had the video so you could watch Joe read to you. So Joe, I'm going to quit yammering on because I don't need to drag this on any further. So the remaining of the show is yours.
Fantastic. You may be able to guess the title of this movie by the light I have on my face today. We are reading The Red Room by H.G. Wells. I can assure you, said I, that it will take a very tangible ghost to frighten me. And I stood up before the fire with my glass in my hand. It is your own choosing, said the man with the withered arm, and glanced at me askance. 28 years, said I have lived, and never a ghost have I seen as yet. The old woman sat staring hard into the fire, her pale eyes wide open. Aye, she broke in, and 28 years you have lived and never seen the likes of this house, I reckon. There's a many things to see when one's still but 28. She swayed her head slowly from side to side. A many things to see and sorrow for. I half suspected the old people were trying to enhance the spiritual terrors of their house by droning insistence. I put down my empty glass on the table and looked about the room and caught a glimpse of myself, abbreviated and broadened to an impossible sturdiness, and the queer old mirror at the end of the room. Well, I said, if I see anything tonight, I shall be so much the wiser, for I come to the business with an open mind. It's your own choosing, said the man with the withered arm once more. I heard the sound of a stick and a shambling step on the flags in the passage outside, and the door creaked on its hinges as a second old man entered, more bent, more wrinkled, more aged even than the first. He supported himself by a single crutch. His eyes were covered by a shade, and his lower lip, half averted, hung pale and pink from his decaying yellow teeth. He made straight for an armchair on the opposite side of the table, sat down clumsily, and began to cough. The man with the withered arm gave this newcomer a short glance of positive dislike. The old woman took no notice of his arrival, but remained with her eyes fixed steadily on the fire. "I said, it's your own choosing," said the man with the withered arm when the coughing had ceased for a while. "It's my own choosing," I answered. The man with the shade became aware of my presence for the first time, and threw his head back for a moment and sideways to see me. I caught a momentary glimpse of his eyes, small and bright and inflamed. Then he began to cough and sputter again. "Why don't you drink?" said the man with the withered arm, pushing the beer towards him. The man with the shade poured out a glassful with a shaky hand that splashed half as much again on the deal table. A monstrous shadow of him crouched upon the wall and mocked his action as he poured and drank. I must confess I had scarce expected these grotesque custodians. There is, to my mind, something inhuman in senility, something crouching and atavistic. The human qualities seem to drop from old people insensibly day by day. The three of them made me feel uncomfortable with their gaunt silences, their bent carriage, their evident unfriendliness to me and to one another. "If," said I, "you will show me this haunted room of yours, I will make myself comfortable there." The old man with the cough jerked his head back so suddenly that it startled me, and shot another glance of his red eyes at me from under the shade. But no one answered me. I waited a minute, glancing from one to the other. "If," I said a little louder, "if you will show me this haunted room of yours, I will relieve you from the task of entertaining me." "There's a candle on the slab outside the door," said the man with the withered arm, looking at my feet as he addressed me. "But if you go to the Red Room tonight—" "This of all nights," said the old woman, "you go alone." "Very well," I answered. "And which way do I go?" "You go along the passage for a bit," said he, "until you come to a door, and through that is a spiral staircase, and halfway up that is a landing and another door covered with baize. Go through that and down the long corridor to the end, and the Red Room is on your left up the steps." "Have I got that right?" I said, and repeated his directions. He corrected me in one particular. "And are you really going?" said the man with the shade, looking at me again for the third time with that queer, unnatural tilting of the face. "This night of all nights," said the old woman. "It is what I came for," I said, moving toward the door. As I did so, the old man with the shade rose and staggered around the table, so as to be closer to the others and to the fire. At the door I turned and looked at them, and saw they were all close together, dark against the firelight, staring at me over their shoulders with an intent expression on their ancient faces. "Good night," I said, setting the door open. "It's your own choosing," said the man with the withered arm. I left the door wide open until the candle was well alight, and then I shut them in and walked down the chilly, echoing passage. I must confess that the oddness of these three old pensioners, in whose charge her ladyship had left the castle, and the deep-toned, old-fashioned furniture of the housekeeper's room in which they foregathered, affected me in spite of my efforts to keep myself at a matter-of-fact phase. They seemed to belong to another age, an older age, an age when things were spiritual, were different from this of ours, less certain, an age when omens and witches were credible and ghosts beyond denying. Their very existence was spectral, the cut of their clothing, fashions born in dead brains. The ornaments and conveniences of the room about them were ghostly, the thoughts of vanished men, which still haunted rather than participated in the world of today. But with an effort, I sent such thoughts to the right about. The long, draughty subterranean passage was chilly and dusty, and my candle flared and made the shadows cower and quiver. The echoes rang up and down the spiral staircase, and a shadow came sweeping up after me, and one fled before me into the darkness overhead. I came to the landing and stopped there for a moment, listening to a rustling that I fancied I heard. Then, satisfied of the absolute silence, I pushed open the baize-covered door and stood in the corridor. The effect was scarcely what I expected, for the moonlight coming in by the great window on the grand staircase picked out everything in vivid black shadow or silvery illumination. Everything was in its place. The house might have been deserted on the yesterday instead of 18 months ago. There were candles in the sockets of the sconces, and whatever dust had gathered on the carpets or upon the polished flooring was disturbed so evenly as to be invisible in the moonlight. I was about to advance and stopped abruptly. A bronze group stood upon the landing, hidden from me by the corner of the wall, but its shadow fell with marvelous distinctness upon the white paneling, and gave me the impression of someone crouching to waylay me. I stood rigid for half a minute, perhaps. Then, with my hand in the pocket that held my revolver, I advanced, only to discover a Ganymede and eagle glistening in the moonlight. That incident for a time restored my nerve, and a porcelain Chinaman on the bull table, whose head rocked silently as I passed him by, scarcely startled me. The door to the Red Room and the steps up to it were in a shadowy corner. I moved my candle from side to side in order to see clearly the nature of the recess in which I stood before opening the door. Here it was, thought I, that my predecessor was found, and the memory of that story gave me a sudden twinge of apprehension. I glanced over my shoulder at the Ganymede in the moonlight, and opened the door of the Red Room rather hastily, with my face half turned to the pallid silence of the landing. I entered, closing the door behind me at once, turned the key I found in the lock within, and stood with the candle held aloft, surveying the scene of my vigil, the great Red Room of Lorraine Castle, in which the young Duke had died, or rather, in which he had begun his dying, for he had opened the door and fallen headlong down the steps I had just ascended. That had been the end of his vigil, of his gallant attempt to conquer the ghostly tradition of the place. And never, I thought, had apoplexy better served the ends of superstition. And there were other and older stories that clung to the room, back to the half-credible beginning of it all, the tale of a timid wife and the tragic end that came to her husband's jest of frightening her. And looking around that large, somber room with its shadowy window bays, its recesses and alcoves, one could well understand the legends that had sprouted in its black corners, its germinating darkness. My candle was a little tongue of light in its vastness that failed to pierce the opposite end of the room, and left an ocean of mystery and suggestion beyond its island of light. I resolved to make a systematic examination of the place at once, and dispel the fanciful suggestions of its obscurity before they obtained a hold upon me. After satisfying myself of the fastening of the door, I began to walk around the room, peering round each article of furniture, tucking up the variances of the bed and opening its curtains wide. I pulled up the blinds and examined the fastenings of the several windows before closing the shutters. I leant forward and looked up the blackness of the wide chimney, and tapped the dark oak paneling for any secret opening. There were 2 big mirrors in the room, each with a pair of sconces bearing candles, and on the mantel-shelf, too, were more candles in china candlesticks. All these I lit one after the other. The fire was laid in unexpected consideration from the old housekeeper, and I lit it to keep down any disposition to shiver. And when it was burning well, I stood round with my back to it and regarded the room again. I had pulled up a chintz-covered armchair and a table to form a kind of barricade before me, and on this lay my revolver ready to hand. My precise examination had done me good, but I still found the remoter darkness of the place and its perfect stillness too stimulating for the imagination. The echoing of the stir and cracking of the fire was no sort of comfort to me. The shadow in the alcove at the end in particular had that undefinable quality of a presence, that odd suggestion of a lurking, living thing that comes so easily in silence and solitude. At last, to reassure myself, I walked with a candle into it, and satisfied myself that there was nothing tangible there. I stood that candle upon the floor of the alcove, and left it in that position. By this time I was in a state of considerable nervous tension, although to my reason there was no adequate cause for that condition. My mind, however, was perfectly clear. I postulated quite unreservedly that nothing supernatural could happen, and to pass the time I began to string some rhymes together, in Ingoldsby fashion, of the original legend of the place. I spoke aloud, but the echoes were not pleasant. For the same reason, I also abandoned, after a time, a conversation with myself upon the impossibility of ghosts and haunting. My mind reverted to the 3 old and distorted people downstairs, and I tried to keep it upon that topic. The somber reds and blacks of the room troubled me. Even with the 7 candles, the place was merely dim. The one in the alcove flared in a draught, and the fire flickering kept the shadows and penumbra perpetually shifting and stirring. Casting about for a remedy, I recalled the candles I had seen in the passage, and with a slight effort walked out into the moonlight, carrying a candle and leaving the door open, and presently returned with as many as 10. I put these in various knickknacks of china, with which the room was sparsely adorned, lit and placed where the shadows had lain deepest, some on the floor, some in the window recesses, until at last my 17 candles were so arranged that not an inch of the room but had the direct light of at least one of them. It occurred to me that when the ghost came, I could warn him not to trip over them. The room was now quite brightly illuminated. There was something very cheery and reassuring in these little streaming flames, and snuffing them gave me an occupation, and afforded a helpful sense of the passage of time. Even with that, however, the brooding expectation of the vigil weighed heavily upon me. It was after midnight that the candle in the alcove suddenly went out, and the black shadow sprang back to its place there. I did not see the candle go out. I simply turned and saw that the darkness was there, as one might start and see the unexpected presence of a stranger. "By Jove," said I aloud, "that draught's a strong one." And taking the matches from the table, I walked across the room in a leisurely manner to relight the corner again. My first match would not strike, and as I succeeded with the second, something seemed to blink on the wall before me. I turned my head involuntarily and saw that the 2 candles on the little table by the fireplace were extinguished. I rose at once to my feet. "Odd," I said. "Did I do that myself in a flash of absent-mindedness?" I walked back, relit one, and as I did so, saw the candle in the right sconce of one of the room's mirrors wink and go right out, and almost immediately its companion followed it. There was no mistake about it. The flame vanished, as if the wicks had been suddenly nipped between a finger and a thumb, leaving the wick neither glowing nor smoking, but black. While I stood gaping, the candle at the foot of the bed went out, and the shadows seemed to take another step towards me. "This won't do," said I, and the first one, and then another candle on the mantel-shelf followed. "What's up?" I cried, with a queer high note getting into my voice somehow. At that, the candle on the wardrobe went out, and the one I had relit in the alcove followed. "Steady on," I said. "These candles are wanted," speaking with a half-hysterical facetiousness, and scratching away at a match the while for the mantel candlesticks. My hands trembled so much that twice I missed the rough paper of the matchbox. As the mantel emerged from darkness again, 2 candles on the remoter end of the window were eclipsed, but with the same match I also relit the larger mirror candles, and those on the floor near the doorway, so that, for the moment, I seemed to gain on the extinctions. But then in a volley there vanished 4 lights at once in different corners of the room, and I struck another match in quivering haste and stood, hesitating whither to take it. As I stood undecided, an invisible hand seemed to sweep out the 2 candles on the table. With a cry of terror, I dashed at the alcove, then into the corner, then into the window, relighting 3 as 2 more vanished by the fireplace. Then, perceiving a better way, I dropped the matches on the iron-bound deed box in the corner and caught up the bedroom candlestick. With this, I avoided the delay of striking matches. But for all that the steady process of extinction went on, and the shadows I feared and fought against returned, and crept in upon me, first a step gained on the side of me, and then on that. It was like a ragged storm cloud sweeping out the stars. Now and then one returned for a minute and was lost again. I was now almost frantic with the horror of the coming darkness, and my self-possession deserted me. I leapt, panting and disheveled, from candle to candle in a vain struggle against that remorseless advance. I bruised myself on the thigh against the table. I sent a chair headlong. I stumbled and fell and whisked the cloth from the table in my fall. My candle rolled away from me, and I snatched another as I rose. Abruptly, this was blown out, as I swung it off the table by the wind of my sudden movement, and immediately the 2 remaining candles followed. But there was still light in the room, a red light that staved off the shadows from me. The fire! Of course, I could still thrust my candle between the bars and relight it. I turned where the flames were still dancing between the glowing coals and splashing red reflections upon the furniture, made 2 steps toward the grate, and incontinently the flames dwindled and vanished. The glow vanished. The reflections rushed together and vanished, and as I thrust the candle between the bars, darkness closed upon me like the shutting of an eye, wrapped about me in a stifling embrace, sealed my vision, and crushed the last vestiges of reason from my brain. The candle fell from my hand. I flung out my arms in a vain effort to thrust that ponderous blackness away from me, and lifting my voice, screamed with all my might, once, twice, thrice. Then I think I must have staggered to my feet. I know I thought suddenly of the moonlit corridor, and with my head bowed and my arms over my face, made a run for the door. But I had forgotten the exact position of the door, and struck myself heavily against the corner of the bed. I staggered back, turned, and was either struck or struck myself against some of the other bulky furniture. I have a vague memory of batting myself thus, to and fro in the darkness, of a cramped struggle, and of my own wild crying as I darted to and fro, of a heavy blow at last upon my forehead, a horrible sensation of falling that lasted an age, of my last frantic effort to keep my footing. And then I remember no more. I opened my eyes in daylight. My head was roughly bandaged, and the man with the withered arm was watching my face. I looked about me, trying to remember what had happened, and for a space I could not recollect. I rolled my eyes into the corner and saw the old woman, no longer abstracted, pouring out some drops of medicine from a blue phial into a glass. "Where am I?" I asked. "I seem to remember you, and yet I cannot remember who you are." They told me then, and I heard of the haunted red room as one who hears a tale. "We found you at dawn," said he, "and there was blood on your forehead and lips." It was very slowly I recovered my memory of the experience. "You believe now," said the old man, "that the room is haunted?" He spoke no longer as one who greets an intruder, but as one who grieves for a broken friend. "Yes," said I, "that room is haunted. And you have seen it, and we who have lived here all our lives have never set eyes upon it, because we have never dared. Tell us, is it truly the old Earl who—" "No," said I, "it is not." "I told you so," said the old lady, with her glass in her hand. "It is his poor young countess who was frightened." "It is not," I said. "There was neither ghost of Earl nor ghost of countess in that room. There was no ghost at all, but worse. Far worse." "Well," they said. "The worst of all the things that haunt poor mortal man," said I, "and that is, in all its nakedness, fear that will not have light nor sound, that will not bear with reason, that deafens and darkens and overwhelms. It followed me through the corridor. It fought against me in the room." I stopped abruptly. There was an interval of silence. My hand went up to my bandages. Then the man with the shade sighed and spoke. "That is it," said he. "I knew that was it. A power of darkness. To put such a curse upon a woman, it lurks there always. You can feel it even in the daytime, even of a bright summer's day, in the hangings, in the curtains, keeping behind you however you face about it. In the dusk it creeps along the corridor and follows you so that you dare not turn. There is fear in that room of hers, black fear, and there will be so long as this house of sin endures." The end.
Good job, Joe. I love that because I can follow along. It's almost like I have my own personal audiobook.
Nice.
It's wonderful. Great story. Great story to kick off this freaky show. Guys, my favorite time of year, Halloween. So I'm really excited for everything that we're doing here in October. And I'm glad that we're getting so many more of these along the way. So make sure you continue to listen or watch to this freaky show wherever you will pick up your podcasts. Continue to listen on iTunes or Spotify, Amazon, music. Anywhere you get your podcasts, just search This Freakin' Show. This Freaky Show will pop up. But if you want to watch us, feel free to stop over at the Freakin' Studios YouTube channel. Subscribe over there, and you can watch our podcast as well. So,
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have. So, as always, I am Travesty.
And I'm the Freak Joe.
And thank you for tuning in to another episode of This Freaky Show.